First and foremost, thank you everybody for joining us today. My name is Anthony Medaglia, Director of Customer Success here at V1 Sports. I'm accompanied by Dan Heaney. For those of you who do not know who Dan Heaney is, Dan is the business consultant and coach who specializes in helping golf instructors break free from the grind of endless in-person lessons and build something more scalable. For most of you guys who've been on these webinars over the last couple of months, you guys are pretty much here to learn more about online lessons and how to grow revenue. And we're really excited to share some of those insights. Some of you folks are already in our paired program and our app engagement program, in which we are building infrastructure and presenting online leads to you guys daily. But for those who are not, obviously there's some really great opportunities to continue to try to get into this space, and Dan is the expert in this field. So I'm going to stop talking. Obviously, there is a chat function within this presentation in this webinar. We will be asking questions. We'll also have a Q&A section, so please get those ready and warmed up to send our way so we can answer those for you. But without further ado, we'll kick it over to Dan. Thanks.
Awesome. Glad to be back again. As me and Anthony were just discussing, I think this is our 5th webinar together now in a little bit different topic today. Going to be covering one of the biggest mistakes that I see golf coaches commonly making when it comes to wanting to transition to online and just to make any changes inside of their business. A lot are sort of stuck in this pattern of this is the way that I've always done it, or this is the way that I've seen others always do it. And so a lot of the presentation today is kind of flipping the switch on changing that mentality and using something that I learned called ready, fire, aim instead of the other way around of planning too much, thinking too much, getting stuck in perfectionism and not actually getting into action or implementing any of the things that you want to implement to see the success that you want. Because at the end of the day, any result that we want comes on the back of actually taking action to accomplish that. So diving in today, this is one of the biggest myths that I see commonly sort of stopping coaches in their tracks is that they think that they need some perfect idea, some perfect system, some perfect content, that they have to learn more. They're not ready to make the transition, and they're really just getting stuck in the trap of overanalyzing and overthinking everything when it comes to their business. And so there's really some key areas that I want to cover in this presentation that will help you guys to take some action in the next 48 hours this week and change some things about your business to start getting a momentum and start making progress towards what you want to accomplish with your coaching business. The big things that I often hear from coaches is that when they're considering online, is that they don't understand the technical side of things, right? So they think about social media and not necessarily loving being on the platform, or the tech behind posting every single day, or the editing, creating the captions. How do you actually film? There's all these things that when you get into moving online and creating content can potentially slow you down. You start to think about landing pages, email providers. How do I set up a landing page, a funnel, a sales page? How do I actually create the product? There's just so many questions when it comes to online. One thing that is a good reminder is that one of the great things about what V1 is doing with the partner program is they will help you guys out with a lot of this stuff, right? Like they will help you to create a landing page and start to collect emails. And so much of what you need to accomplish and build a successful online coaching business is already at your fingertips within an app like V1. The other big thing is starting to get into thinking about the differences between in-person and online, right? Having expectations on what that might look like, having expectations or paralysis of analysis of creating that perfect plan online. You know, so many coaches before they ever start or take their first client online ask me questions like, well, how do I do it? And the simple truth is it's way more straightforward than you think. It really is just getting that first client and then sort of learning, implementing, perfecting as you go, as you get feedback from working with that person. But if you're a great coach in person, you already have the skill set to deliver amazing results online. Sometimes it just takes getting started. There's also a lot of question marks about the visual nature of coaching, and being accustomed to delivering results in one format or setting, having that student right in front of you where you can go hands-on and really clearly see. With the tech that we have now online available to us, right? These little things right here are really powerful smart computers at our fingertips that will allow you to deliver amazing results and an amazing experience for clients who can't necessarily see you in person or come as regularly as they would like. And then there's just a lot when it comes to the way it's always been done, the traditional emphasis on having to do lessons in person, because that's the only way that you can have a quality experience for your clients. Well, I really want to go through why these are kind of limiting beliefs for you guys as coaches, and how shifting some of this, changing your perspective on it, and taking action in these different areas is the unlock to becoming successful online. Because the only difference between you and any other coach that you see online that seems to be successful in it is that 6 months, 12 months, 5 years ago, they decided to just get started, right? They decided to just start posting content. They decided to take on that first client online and see what would happen. They decided to create a course or a product and start selling it through social media. And now that momentum has snowballed over time. There's a lot of downsides to getting stuck in perfectionism and not just getting started with this. And it really comes down to, like, you're losing a lot of revenue opportunities inside of your business, both from a pricing standpoint for in-person stuff, launching a hybrid coaching model, or just going fully online and exposing yourself to a worldwide pool of potential clients. There's also a competitive advantage while you're thinking about the perfect offer and wanting to make this absolutely perfect before launching it. Like I said, there's other coaches that are already out there getting students, building their brand online, and creating that dream business that they desire. You'll also see that you really can create better student results and progress when you do some of the strategies that we're going to talk about today. And you'll really start to build a lot of confidence in yourself in the online model and what it can do when you just get started and go for it. So there's really 3 core areas that I see this perfectionism come into play and really stop a coach in their tracks. And the first one is going to be pricing, and being resistant or hesitant to change pricing and change pricing models. And I'll tell you a bit of story of a client of mine right now who did this, and within the first month has already had massive results. There's a big paralysis around content creation and putting yourself out there. And I totally get why. Like, it's hard to put your face on the internet, to post videos, to expose yourself in that way. There's also just a reluctance to the idea that the model of online coaching can actually be successful and deliver results for your clients. And I'll hopefully show you why that's kind of a limiting belief as well too. When it comes to pricing, one of the big things that I see, like I mentioned, is a reluctance to increase pricing in a way that makes sense, that has thought behind it, and that is done quite regularly to continue to bring you the amount of revenue, income, and ultimately profit that you desire inside of your business. Most coaches have been charging the exact same price in the exact same way, buy a lesson or buy lesson packs. And it's been priced the same for 5, 10, 15 years. Like, maybe they incrementally upped it, but they didn't do it with any kind of foresight or thought behind that. What I would really recommend is they could take a look at your pricing and consider just straight up going with a 20% increase on current pricing for all new students, especially if you have a full book of business. So I talk to coaches all the time, and this is one of the most limiting things that's happening in their coaching business right now, which is that they're full in person, right? They work, 8 to 12 hours a day. They have back-to-back lessons. They can barely take on any new students. They don't really have capacity to do that, but they're reluctant to increase their prices. The way that business works is it's really fundamentally all comes down to supply and demand. When you have excess demand, then you have available supply. That's a good place to be as a business owner, because now you can control the pricing, right? Anytime that your book of business is getting full and you're limited on taking any new clients on, I would consider a price increase, right? That is a big sign. And I would probably do it before you are completely booked out, because if you wait till that moment, it becomes hard to do. And it's much easier to have a price increase with new students rather than current ones. And even if you have current students that have been with you for forever and they've been on maybe a grandfathered rate for years, I would have the honest conversation with them about potential price changes that are coming up. And there's a few different ways that you can do this to increase prices with current students. One is like, be open and straightforward with them. Tell them what your new pricing is versus what they are getting. You can give them a time at which this is going to happen and say, hey, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, pricing is going up for all of my students. This will be the new rate. And you can give them a offer to sort of buy in at their current rate for an additional amount of sessions. So just let's use an example. Let's say you're $100 per lesson and you wanted to increase it to 150, 120, it would be the 20% in this case. And you wanted to increase that. You would just say to your current client, in 3 months, prices are going to go up, but I'm going to give you the opportunity to purchase up to 10 lessons in a pack at your current pricing if you'd like to. And then they can buy in at that current rate. You get an influx of income into the business. They get committed for a longer time, and then they'll use those 10 and know that once they expire, they'll be at the new rate. Other considerations around pricing, which I think is big, is getting out of the mindset of the only way that you can charge for what you do is per hour in a lesson format, whether that's packages or one-offs. I highly recommend that my clients switch to program and package pricing that is a duration of time with a certain amount of access to you inside of that, and then getting commitment up front. I had a client, Jordan, just do this recently. He was selling one-off lessons. He's over in the UK and doing that for, I think he was pretty good rate for the UK. It was £100 an hour. All we did is we took and created a 4-month program, and he is now charging anywhere between £1,200 and £2,000 for this 4-month program, depending on how much access they want to him. He went back to a lot of his current students and said, hey, I have this new program launching. This is why I think it will be more beneficial for you than just coming in and getting one-off lessons. One, because it's hard to get on my diary every week because I'm busy. And two, it's going to have more consistent progress. You're going to get access to me in between the sessions, by adding things like using a software like V1 to give analysis in between those lessons, creating practice plans for them, all sorts of stuff. And he did that, created the program, talked to some of his current students. And just by doing that, he sold 4 or 5 of his current students into this new program and made an additional £5,000 to £7,000 this last month, just by rethinking the way that he's doing his pricing and packaging. And now that's his new thing. He will still do a one-off lesson if you want to pay him for that. But then he's driving everyone that wants to become a long-term student of his into a program, right, where they commit for 4 months and they regularly come and see him. The other big thing that I see is content creation paralysis. We've focused a lot on content creation in previous webinars because it's such a big component of getting known online, of building your brand on the internet and getting clients and students online. And most coaches just don't know even where to start when it comes to content. And so because of that, a lot of the coaches I talk to say, oh, I'm not very consistent, or I haven't even started. I don't know what to post. I'm lost when it comes to social media. and I see all these other people that are doing a great job of it, and I get intimidated and I feel behind. Content creation is just like planting a tree. The best time to get started on YouTube was in 2010 when it was a brand new platform. And if you started then and stayed consistent till now, you probably would have millions of subscribers and be really successful on the platform. But the second best time to start on any of these platforms, even in a seemingly saturated online world, is today. And so waiting does not actually help you to get any better at creating content. Guess what helps you to get better at creating content? Actually creating content. And that's really the only way that you can improve and iterate and then make it easier as well. It's the skill and it's the practice of doing it again and again and again that will allow for you to iterate and ultimately build the brand and build the following that you desire to get all the students that you would ever want online. And so typically I just tell coaches, like, don't overthink it. It's as simple as pulling out your phone, setting it up in your studio or on the range so that you can see yourself, and filming. And then whatever you come up with, put it out there. Right. And so when you're getting started, I like this action step in this rule of 5-minute rule. Create and post. Give yourself 5 minutes to create and post something on Instagram or TikTok or wherever you're posting. And minimal editing. It doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't necessarily need to be a perfect one take, but quick little video, under 60 seconds, put it out on Instagram. This process of just creating, getting the feedback from putting it on the internet and making it better as you go. I mean, that's what it all comes down to. There's no amount of like research, education, learning on YouTube about editing platforms, learning the perfect way to do the lighting. That stuff won't actually help you in practice that much unless you're executing and you're doing the actual process of putting content out online. The other big one is just overthinking the online coaching program and plan and how you're actually going to get results for your students there. The reality is you probably have a great way of doing this already. You've delivered these results in person. It's not too dissimilar online, and it doesn't have to be this perfectly crafted program with hundreds of videos and step-by-step sequences and all these supporting resources. You know, most people just need a coach, right? And a very popular coach online that I've gotten to know pretty well, all he does is FaceTime lessons with his students. That's it. Like, it's call me on FaceTime on your iPhone. That's his online lesson platform. That's what he does. And his students love him, love what he does, get amazing results, and keep coming back, right? So it does not have to be complicated. You really just want to very minimally think about, okay, what's the duration of the program that I'm going to put out there? What platform am I going to use to exchange video, right? You guys have a great 1v1. That's really all you need. How am I going to communicate with this client? V1 is amazing for that too. You could also just be able to message and email them back and forth, and then get going. Like, give them guidance and feedback on their game and help them to improve. That's really all that you need to get started. And obviously it will evolve over time. You know, maybe you find other software, apps, technology that you like to use that makes the experience even better. But we don't have to overcomplicate it when we're getting started. This all kind of comes back to what I spoke about, the ready, fire, aim approach to business. Really great book is actually titled Ready, Fire, Aim by a guy's pen name, who I think is Michael Masterson, if I remember correctly. But you just look up Ready, Fire, Aim. It's a great book on business. And it's kind of a principle that I like to instill in all the clients that I work with, something that I use very heavily inside of my business and building it, is I don't spend too much time in the preparation, and I will always get something started and then direct or steer as I go. I always like to use the analogy of a broken down car. A broken down car is hardest to push at the beginning, But once you get it going and you're in momentum, it becomes much easier to steer. And then you're just kind of guiding it along, course correcting as you go, right? That's kind of the approach we want to take to what we're doing inside of our business. 30% is going to be spent on getting ready, some preparation. You don't want like zero preparation because that's pretty surefire way to just completely fail at what you're doing. But you want to define the minimum viable standard, that MVP, minimum viable product, set a date that you have to launch this by, and make it public if you need to hold yourself accountable. And then identify the first test that you're going to do. Like, how are you going to put this product out there? How are you going to let some people know about it and just see what happens? The FIRE is self-explanatory. That's the take action step. You want to get into this as quick as you possibly can. Launch it, collect real feedback. We can't create a perfect product or experience in the lab. It has to be done in actual implementation out in the field. And so you want to get it out there as soon as you possibly can. Get your first beta tester into your online program as soon as you possibly can, because that's where the real learning and feedback happens. Then once you're in it, you're in momentum, the car's moving. Now we just guide and direct, and it's much easier to do that once you're there. Adjust based on the results, iterate quickly, which is amazing. You want to change things quickly, and build confidence with the action, not in the preparation and overthinking things. And I kind of covered these already, so we're pretty good there. But that's a mindset that I always take to anything that I'm launching is, all right, what's my minimum amount of preparation that needs to be put into this to get a viable product, offer, idea out there? Let's go launch it and test it. That's how I'm really going to get the most amount of feedback. And then I will correct very fast. I will iterate very quickly once it's out in the market. So ideas around these three different areas: pricing, content, and just the idea of online coaching. So you can always soft launch a new pricing strategy, which is to basically, let people know, like I said, like when this is going to happen and why this is changing. I always frame it from a value for the student frame, right? You want to come at it from, I'm making these changes because it's going to be a better experience and a better result for you. And it's going to be happening in this time window, and just telling them why, having real conversations with people. Everyone fears that they're going to get a lot of their students or clients to come back to them and say, I'm pissed about the fact that you're moving your prices up. The reality is you might get one or two. The vast majority will say stuff like, yeah, you should have moved your prices up a long time ago. Like, that sounds good. It's still so worth it for me to come. Right? They really do understand, for the most part. 90+% of your clients will be totally happy with this as long as it's well communicated, and you give them reasons why this is going to add more value to their experience. For the content, it really just comes down to very minimal plan on what you want to do. Have some ideas on some different formats that you could use, right? Quick tip videos, a swing analysis. Again, like we've talked about this in every content creation webinar that we've done that's discussed content creation at all. You have V1 that you can use for content. All you need to do is have a student's swing inside of the platform, do a voiceover, and that can be a piece of content. Now, I would ask the student if you could post that and share that, but most are going to say, yeah, totally cool. Right? That's an easy way to make content. You don't even have to show your face on camera. You're just talking over as you're showing what you would do as a coach. There's drill demonstrations, super easy. The popular ones would be obviously any training aids that you might use, stuff around the greens. People love that stuff. Simple Q&A. So if you get questions from your in-person students, there's people online that want to know the answer to that question too. So you can very simply take the questions you're already getting and go answer them in a video and post that. And they can show before and after of both in-person and online students. Those are all great content ideas. And it really comes down to planning the time in your schedule to do content And then when you have that block there, stay committed to it, get whatever you can filmed and done, and then just put it out there. Say, hey, I have an hour here, I have an hour here, 2 hours here, whatever it is. This is my content block in the week. I'm going to spend this entire 60 minutes focus on just creating as much as I can possibly create. Maybe that's one video at first. Maybe you get up to creating 10 in that hour. And then whatever you come up with, post it. It doesn't need to be perfect. And with online, again, keep it as simple as possible. You guys all have V1, which you can use to give great feedback to your students online. You can communicate with basic stuff like email or even text message, and then obviously inside of V1. And if you need scheduling tools for online, Calendly is free, very easy to set up, and it works great. Don't have to overcomplicate that. To get payments, while I would eventually set up something like a Stripe and a payment processor and actually have a business LLC that you're taking those payments through, at first, use PayPal, use Venmo. It does not have to be complicated. You really can keep it as simple as you want, and we really just want to get started. Some stuff that I've seen internally with the clients that don't get hung up on the perfect answer or spending too much time in preparation. They just do. They just take action. They just get stuff done. My internal clients are 87% more successful. And I track this through like just looking at their data that they submit to me. 87% more successful than those that get stuck in overthinking things. Just inside of my programs and what they're able to accomplish with both growth of followers, growth of online students, financial, right, which is the next one. They make 3.5 times more money than those who struggle to iterate and kind of like take their time and get too much into thinking. And they ultimately end up saving a lot of time, because one of the biggest time sucks that you can have inside of your business is almost too much time in thinking or consuming or trying to like learn how to do this thing perfectly, when in reality you just need to get into action and do the stuff, and that will allow you to iterate a lot faster. And just want to get out of the mindset of like, what happens if I fail in this? Instead, it's like, what happens if I actually succeed online? How much better would that be for my life and freeing up my time? You don't need to know everything, and you already know enough to go help students in the online setting. You already know enough to post content. You already know enough to raise your prices. You don't have to get stuck in analysis. And it definitely doesn't have to be perfect. There's no such thing. And so trying to make something perfect is what is keeping you stuck. So instead, minimum viable product, whatever this thing is that you want to be perfect in its current format, which is not perfect, would be helpful and useful for somebody else. And so putting it out there will serve a lot of people instead of trying to perfect it in the lab. And every time that you do this, it's the same thing that happens with your students, right? They try something, maybe a drill or a technique that you give them. They see immediate results in the way that they're hitting the ball. Maybe their next round they play better. That builds confidence. They come back to you ready to learn even more and implement even faster, to practice more. And all of these things kind of snowball and loop. And that's what we want to get into with online. It's all about the momentum, getting into progress, not perfection, because every time that you do, you get a win, and you only want to do more of it. And then that compounds over time. The last thing I'll just leave you guys with is choose one of these areas and make a change in the next 48 hours, right? Raise your prices if you know you need to do it and you've been procrastinating it. Just do it. Rip the Band-Aid off. Promise it won't be as bad as you think. Put out your first or next piece of content. Stop waiting. Don't think about the editing software that you need, the perfect lighting, the perfect camera. Take out your phone, set it up, and record yourself and post it on the internet. You could do that in the next hour. Get your online coaching offer launch. If you've been procrastinating it, not thinking that there's anyone that would be interested in buying it, or not knowing exactly how to deliver the perfect experience online. Introduce a new service that you've wanted to, and just tell people about it and get feedback from them. Reach out to potential, partners in these different areas if that might be beneficial. Set a deadline, 48 hours, and just go for it. Whether that's sending the email, recording the videos, making the offer, launching a program, I'd do it in the next 2 days. And you guys have an amazing community here that can honestly help in support of all this stuff. But yeah, I would share it publicly, hold yourself accountable, and go do one of these things that you've been procrastinating or waiting on doing. And all of these, very simple to do. Pricing, increase your rate by 20% for new clients. You don't even have to do it for old ones, right? Just do it for new. Content, post 3 1-minute swing tips. Put it out there. You could do that definitely in the next 48 hours. Offer an online experience for your current in-person students. Get feedback from them. It's almost this beta offer. Test it out. See if they'll give it a shot with online and see how they like it. Launch a new offer. You could launch a clinic. You could launch a playing lesson. Just think about different ways that you can make an offer to your list, your current students, and be able to add additional revenue streams and potential partnerships. You could always reach out to 3 complementary businesses and start that relationship, and that can easily be done. Find somebody's email, send it in the next 48 hours. And beyond that, I would highly recommend every single week picking something that you're going to take action on in one of these key areas of your business and committing to getting it done, tracking the results and progress as you go, celebrating the wins, and look for others to give you some accountability there. But yeah, any of these areas, just pick an action inside of it once a week and go do it. And you'll find that 6 months from now, you'll be so much further along than over the previous 6 months where you just kind of thought about it and thought you needed more information, more learning. There's probably people on this webinar that have shown up to every single one that we've done that have not implemented much of what they learned, not actually taken steps to improve in those areas and constantly iterate. Or they took from one of the content trainings. They took that, were really excited the first week, posted 2 pieces of content, and then it really fell off and haven't put out anymore. And the difference between the ones who will be successful, the coaches who will be successful online, and the ones that won't, is simply just taking the action and doing it repeatedly again and again and again and again, regardless of the result. That's all I got for presentation. Can open up for plenty of questions.
Just one comment, Dan. That was unbelievable. Thanks for going through that. Yeah, time and time again, we get on these phone calls and conversations with users of V1 who said, "Hey, you know what? I thought about doing online for the last couple of years, but never really took that step." And they perceptualize it as like a big step, but in reality, they're further along than they think. Like they've got the tool to deliver the online lessons right within V1. They've got the expertise, obviously. They have the existing contact list who love them and would be possibly interested in doing some sort of online hybrid opportunity. So yeah, I like obviously looking through some of the things that you've been presenting and kind of resorting back to the conversations I have, that they're really not that far away from having some success here if they just kind of take that leap. So just want to add that short comment. We've got Q&A. So for the first one here, we've got, is it best to ask friends and family for feedback, clients, or strangers?
Yeah, so my hesitation always with friends and family is it depends on the relationship with them and whether they'll be honest or not. But they could definitely, if they are and you value their feedback in different aspects or areas of the business, certainly could be useful. Clients are definitely a huge source of feedback. I would also caveat that a bit. You always want to survey your your current clients, your current students. Typically in business world, most businesses would have some sort of NPS score for their clients, net promoter score, which is it's a ranking on a 1 to 10, how likely they are to recommend what you do to someone else. I think that is one of the easiest and best questions that you could be asking your current clients is scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to refer or recommend what I do as a coach to friends and family members? And ideally, right, having the closest to 10 as possible is a good thing. If they would not recommend, that would not be a good thing. So I do think that feedback is useful. I think you can do also sort of more experiential questions for them, like what they liked about a certain experience, what they didn't like. I always take that a bit with a grain of salt because you might have one person that's very opinionated about a specific area, and that might feel very loud, and you might look to change everything about what you do based on the opinion of one or two people. So you need enough data. So you have to ask enough people and then compare the information that they give you to kind of make changes and iterate based on that. I wouldn't, because what happens often, and this is kind of what I'm hoping to steer people away from, is there's always a loud minority that will tell you how much they like or dislike or hate this certain thing. And then you start to we get in our own heads about, I got to change all these different things. I got to do this differently. When you don't realize that 80-90% of people were actually loving it. They just weren't the ones that would go out and say something. So yeah, I do think potentially if you had a way of getting feedback from strangers and type of inside of an experience, that could be valuable, but it depends on how they experience the service that you're asking for feedback on. Like, what were the parameters they were able to do that in, right? So like a stranger would be valuable in getting feedback from them to come in and experience a lesson with you one time, right? But at the same time, like, you have to understand a bit about that person and where their perspective is kind of coming from. So I think clients is probably the best feedback that you can get. That is your market. And I always tell that to clients is there's no better feedback than the feedback from the marketplace, but we need ample amounts of data from the marketplace for it to be relevant or useful. Like two people telling you something, that could be a random coincidence.
Right. Okay, next one from Ron. A recent study showed that attention span for social media is about 8 to 10 seconds. In other words, you have 8 to 10 seconds to capture the attention of the viewer to watch your 1 to 2 minute video. What is the best way to do that?
Yeah, I think it might even be worse than 8 to 10 seconds now. Yeah, it's pretty bad, especially on social media. So people are basically accustomed to needing to be hooked in the first 3 seconds of a video or post. So I would focus on what happens in the first 3 seconds as being vitally important. In video creation, online marketing, everyone would call that the hook, right? Like you're trying to catch bait, like you need a good hook to do that. So to get somebody to watch the rest of your video, the first 3 seconds are crucial, very, very important. So the ways that you systematically do that, it depends on the platform, but because all of them are pretty much going video, and all of them have video options now and short form video options. And I think that's one of the best styles to create golf content. I'll speak mostly about video and how you would do that. In video, there are 3 styles of hooks that you can have. So in those first 3 seconds, you want 3 different things to happen. One, you want a text-based hook. So a written hook, words that show on the screen. And that needs to be 3 to 7 words. And it needs to be very like curiosity driven, fear driven, authority driven. Like I have a whole social media thing on the different ways you can put together hooks. But that needs to stop somebody in their tracks, what they can read on the screen, because you will be able to read that faster than you can even hear the thing that the person is saying in those first 3 seconds. So that's the first piece, right? Visually, text hook displayed on screen. Then you also want a visual hook of something that is happening. There's motion happening in the shot. So golf, this often happens with immediately there's a swing, right? And you'll see people do this in their videos where they use professional swings, well-known swings. Like you take Scotty Scheffler and you insert that as B-roll in the first 3 seconds of your video because everyone recognizes his swing. And so if they're scrolling through and they see Scotty mid-swing, they may pause for a second and be interested. Then they'll read the words that are on the screen. And then the third is what is being said, the music, the sound effects, whatever that might be. So it's the auditory of it as well. And if you're talking in the video, you want the very first thing that you say to be thoughtful and like there's a lot of attention put into that. Typically I say for creating really viral content that gets lots of views. Now viral doesn't always mean your business makes money. So, but there is reasons to try to get reach with these videos. What you are going to say in those first 3 seconds is also really important. And it needs to immediately deliver almost like a similar hook to what is written on the screen to capture somebody's attention and keep them on the video for the next 30, 60, 90 seconds. Also, I would not make videos longer than a minute on a platform like Instagram. I won't say like never, but if your goal is to get as many views as possible to grow your account, under 60 seconds and even 30 seconds or less. And I know that seems really hard to deliver any kind of value inside of it. You just got to get creative with the way that you do it. B-roll style or just like very snappy, on point. There's no wasted space. There's no extra words. Like it is on it. Like you're just delivering that one thing in the next 30 to 45 seconds. So yeah, those all help. And I tell clients that I work with almost like 80-20 rule to video content creation. It's like 80% of your time is going to be spent on those first 3 to 5 seconds of the video. And just making sure that's like really well done, or you'll never have a chance to deliver the rest of the value because no one will stick around and watch.
Great. Thanks for the question, Ron. We got Jim Woods here. So what are your thoughts on cross-posting content? Having a video library on a website or YouTube, and if you want to monetize your content, how can you make sure you are within those guidelines? My thought is advertise through social posts to get them to go to see more long form YouTube or web. Is that on the right track?
Yeah, so I wouldn't do a video library on a website. So you could potentially, there's coaches who will monetize a video library as like a membership. I think of George Gankis and his membership. Typically that monetization model is challenging when you're just starting out because you need thousands of members to really make significant amount of income from it. So it's a harder model to start with. Plus recurring memberships like that have a lot of churn, but without going too much into that route or rabbit hole, if you wanted to put out longer form content in these videos, I would do it on YouTube. YouTube is going to give you organic reach as well. It is one of the best platforms for building a relationship with potential clients and students online. So I would create a YouTube channel, start to post regular 3 to 15, 20-minute videos in the sweet spot's kind of like that 8 to 10-minute range of YouTube videos for golf instruction content. So I would start to do that on YouTube. Then you can 100% use other social media platforms to drive traffic to your YouTube. So I have a client, Matt Baker. He does this a lot. You'll see on his Instagram, Matt Baker Golf, if you go check it out, you'll see some of his videos where the call to action on the post is to comment a keyword to see the full video, right? So he's taking like a clip of his YouTube video, putting it on Instagram, and then having people comment. Then he will message them the link to go watch the full YouTube video. And the power in all of that is like you're capturing someone's attention and keeping them on you and binging your stuff for a long time. So hopefully the goal, right, is if they go over to YouTube, watch this 5 to 10 minute video, they're then going to see that there's 50 other right there below it and start to binge those as well. What you also need to make this work effectively, though, is to have ways of capturing people as leads from these different places. YouTube, if you're going to send people from, like, let's say Instagram to YouTube to watch a video, on YouTube, in every description, in every pinned post, you want to have a lead magnet there, right? Lead magnet is just something you can give away for free for someone's contact information. So this is where it would be helpful to have a landing page where someone could put in their name and email, and that would be the first line in the description. Hey, do you want this thing that's going to help you do XYZ? And then the links there. And then also in the pinned comment, that's the first one on YouTube as well. But yes, Jim, you could 100% do this with monetizing your content. Sometimes coaches think that they want to monetize through YouTube AdSense. It's not a very effective way to monetize. You need millions of views to make like decent money from doing it. So I wouldn't chase that. I would say views, find people who might be interested in buying into your coaching services. And the way that you collect them as a lead and then reach out and nurture them is by getting their email in exchange for something for free. That's like the simplest way to kind of structure it.
Great. Thanks for that, Jim. We have another one here. How long do you stick with a decision before deciding to change it? So this could be, pricing strategy, etc.
Yep. Yeah. It is really that you have to be able to collect relevant leading and lagging indicators. Mostly you would want leading indicators. So just numbers that give you an idea of whether this decision is working or not. And that's like because otherwise it can be very emotional, and we start making decisions based on the way that we're feeling instead of off of the logic or the data. So I lean into what metrics can I track to know if this decision is working or not. And I think there's you have to have a certain amount of time to commit to something before you can really say you gave it enough of a shot to even get enough data to know if it worked. Depending on what stage somebody's on, this is general. So like I'd have to apply it to specific context, but usually it's like, all right, let's do this for 90 days. Can we do it for the next quarter? Collect enough data in that time, analyze the data, and then make a decision. I think that's why so frequently you see businesses operate this way on quarterly targets and goals, because it is enough time to accumulate enough feedback to be able to make a relevant decision moving forward. So I would do that. I would decide on something that we think is best guess going to help us achieve the outcome that we desire, then execute on it for 90 days, track as much data as you can, review the data, make a decision whether to keep doing it or not.
Another question from Ron here. What is the best guideline for the creation of the thumbnail to capture interest?
So a thumbnail, I'm assuming is referring to YouTube with a thumbnail. On just 2 other platforms really quickly. So like on Instagram, you can put I forget what they call it what do they call it? Cover image on an Instagram post. It doesn't matter so much because when people are consuming your content in feed or in the Reels tab, they don't show that cover. The only place they see the cover is when they're on your profile. So it can make your profile look nicer, but it's fairly irrelevant on Instagram. When you're talking about thumbnails on YouTube are vitally important. So there's 2 main things that have the biggest impact on click-through rate, which is just the number of people who see your video in the feed on YouTube and decide to actually click on it. That's the title of the video and it's the thumbnail, right? And everyone who does this very well will strategically, blend those 2 together. And a lot of the biggest YouTubers, what they will always do is create one thumbnail, post it, if that video is not hitting the performance on click-through rate, they will immediately change the thumbnail. And they actually, like, some of them cycle this like 12 times in 24 hours to see which performs the best. When you're creating a thumbnail, my best advice is that you steal like an artist, which is like, go look at what's working for other coaches that have successful YouTube channels, get inspiration from what their thumbnails and titles are and look like, and then recreate that for yourself. Don't blatantly copy them. So Mr. Beast got a lot of flack. If you don't know who Mr. Beast is, he's one of the biggest YouTubers in the world. He got a lot of flack because he created an AI product that would automatically recreate a thumbnail for yours, but it basically was like exactly the same. It would just put your face on it and, you know, relaunch it. So everybody was up in arms because they're like, you're just copying what people spent money and hours of time creating and stealing it. So he actually got rid of that, destroyed the product. But I would do a version of that that's not just like blatantly steal and crop your face in, right? Just look at the colors, the words, like what's the photo, what are the graphics on there, are they putting many words? Most don't have too many words on the thumbnail. And just come up with your own version of one that you like from a successful creator, and then you'll iterate on it over time. Again, feedback in this case would be, is my title and thumbnail getting the click-through rate that I want, 5 to 8% on YouTube? If it's not, and I've posted, you know, at least 4 to 8 videos, then I need to iterate on this and try something else. But yeah, that's what I would do.
What is the best guideline for the creation of the thumbnail capture interest? We just did that one. Let's take it off the screen. How long do you stick with a decision before deciding to change it? We did that one as well. Do we have any more through the chat here? Let's see. I think that might be it. Okay, so we'll wrap up, Dan. Obviously, a lot of great information as always. Appreciate you taking the time to walk through that. We've got an interesting group that joined us today, folks who are either considering moving forward in online lessons and they're looking for some takeaways to kind of get started. And then we've got folks who are actively engaging with online leads, daily, who are having success or not having some success. So again, every time we get on these calls, we take something away and we learn something different and to the success of what they're trying to accomplish. Before I kind of close it, any further remarks, Dan, that you want to leave the group with?
No, I mean, I would just take the last bit out of the presentation and pick one thing this week that you've been procrastinating on doing and just implement on it over the next couple of days and see what happens. It's you never know. I often encourage clients to just launch stuff, like just send an email with the promotion about your new offer. Just make a post on Instagram saying you want some clients online. You'd be surprised how many times like people just don't know that you're even considering these things, that you even offer these things, and just put yourself out there, make the change, communicate it. It won't be as bad as you probably are thinking it's going to be.
And we're on the journey with everybody too. So I mean, most likely our Instagram's probably following our customers and our pros, and we'll see if someone posts something. And if you're looking for feedback, feel free to message our support team. Obviously, they have access to you, Dan, as well, if they're looking for some sort of coaching or some sort of opportunity to say, hey, this is kind of on the right track. So yeah, once again, thanks for carving some time, Dan, and for all of you who joined the call. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Have a good rest of your week.